Hello, everyone. It's Sachin. How are you today? Welcome to our masterclass. Today, I'm going to be discussing how to heal from the ground up for pretty much absolutely free. I'm going to share with you resources and tools and strategies that I've been using for many, many years and things that we share with the clients that we work with on a regular basis and the things that we found to be most successful. So, where I'd love to start is I'd love to get to know a little bit more about you and where you're from. So if you could type that into the chat, that would be amazing. So I could get a sense of where each and every one of you from, what city are you from, where you're participating from. Please let me know. I'm excited for today's presentation. So let me share my screen here. And if I could get just somebody could verify that you can hear me and see my screen, that would be perfect. Okay, so sounds like my audio is coming through nice and clear. Amazing. So I'm seeing Frank from Cincinnati. Welcome. Seeing David from Mississauga. Welcome, Dr. Dave. I see Jen. I see Myra. All right. Thank you, Greg. You can hear and see me. Beautiful. Jen from Brampton. Amazing. Okay. So again, what we want to know, another thing I want to know is why are you here today? So why have you taken time out of your busy schedule, out of your busy life, or at least important life, to make this a priority? So if I could have you type that in, that would be greatly appreciated as well. So let me know why you're here today. What brought you here to join us today? If I can have you express that, it would help me make this presentation even better. So the goal of today is to have an interactive and engaging presentation. That's why we have this chat available to you. I'm going to be sharing this information, uh, you know, with you as best as I can, but I want to make sure that I'm gearing this conversation towards your best interest as well. All right. Love all these whys. New strategies to bring myself back to health. Amazing. See Larissa from New Jersey. Welcome, Larissa. All right. Mike wants to learn how to achieve more wellness. Amazing. Carla says, my son is sick with mono and I want to help him heal. All right. You're in the right place. All right. Somebody wants to learn more strategies and share with her community. I have Myra telling us she's 79 and she wants to have an energetic retirement. All right. Building health, says somebody else. Hello from Miami. Amazing. Learn and grow from my clients. I love that. I love when practitioners and coaches and people of influence are always sharpening their sword. You're in the right place today. All right. Loving the interaction. Let's keep this interaction going. Right now, we all need each other more than ever before, and each of you has something to contribute to this conversation. I want you to really feel that way. That's why my team has gone out of our way to create this experience for you and share with you some of the best tips that we have to offer. Now, you might notice below my video, there is a donate now button. That's if you choose to donate. We have some amazing projects that we work on, and our way of paying it forward is by sharing this information with you. And if you feel compelled to pay it forward in some way, then we ask that you make us a small contribution. And in exchange, we offer you this amazing wealth of knowledge. And if you love what you're hearing today, we have an entire program that we will give you for absolutely free when you make a donation. So that's what you're seeing down there. Okay. So let's dive in. You guys ready to dive in? Type in yes if you are, and I'm going to start going here rapid fire mode. So we're going to cover a lot. I want you to be very present, and this is going to be everything. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to change something up here. All right. So one thing I want you to also do is take great notes. Notes are really important. Now, I'm not asking you to write down everything, but write down the things that really jump out at you. One of the things that you'll get to know about me is I kind of speak in code, perhaps even in riddles. So you've got to really read between the lines and process the information in a unique and different way. So you're not just going to listen today, you're going to think. We're going to change the way you think. And I want you to write down the things that really get you to think and ponder those things. So another way you're going to get more out of this is to be here now. One of my mentors, Ram Dass, that's one of his most famous books and his most famous quotes, which is be here now. And I want you to really be present. Make sure that whatever else that's going on in your life right now is put to the side for a moment, unless it's something urgent, and you're in this moment. You're only one thought away from being in this moment. You're only one thought away from being in any moment. That's the beauty of the mind, is you can travel through space and time in the mind instantaneously. So be here now so that you can get the most out of this. And frankly, I want to get a lot out of this too. I love the engagement. I love learning from you. I love hearing your questions. I love hearing your input and feedback because it allows us to help you even more. It allows us to help you in more deeply and more richly. And that's where my richness comes from, is really from helping as many people as possible without ever having to meet them. It's amazing the influence you can have on other people in a positive way when you teach them how to become the best version of themselves. So that's what I'm hoping to do today. That's what I'm hoping to do for myself every day. I'm certainly not perfect. I don't want you to get that impression at all, but I do my best every single day. That's all we can ask for. All right, so you're here for this masterclass, How to Heal for Free from the Ground Up. You're going to get a ton of value out of this, and I'm really hoping that you enjoy our time together. My why, just so you know, is because I believe that you being healthy will create the greatest future for my son. That's my selfish reason for you to be healthy, to be totally honest, because I want to create a better world for him than the world that was created for me. And we live in this beautiful world. It is what it is, but I know we're capable of more. And what I know is that it's not going to take one person being different or being optimized or being as healthy as possible and as high vibing as possible, but it's going to take, communities and countries to and then eventually the planet to wake up to the beautiful world that we know is possible. And that's what we're all going for, right? We're not just trying to, hopefully, just not trying to better ourselves, but we're trying to hopefully influence other people to become a better version of themselves. And I believe that that's possible. And I also believe that you shouldn't have a chronic disease and then learn how to take care of your health. I believe that if you had known the information that we're going to share, if I had known this information, my life would be radically different if I had known this at the age my son is knowing and becoming aware of this information. So my why is to create a better world for him. And I know that's totally possible. And if you're on board with that, great. If you've got your own vision, which you should, then I want you to align today's talk with that in helping you accomplish whatever that mission is for you. So our whys can be different, but there can be a bridge that joins us, and that is becoming the best version of ourselves. So a little bit about me. I am trained as a chiropractor. I learned about functional medicine 2 years into practicing as a sports chiropractor after I was on the news and was flooded with patients who I had no idea how to help because I really didn't know what to do with them. They were just terribly ill. And I was used to treating healthy people complaining about sports injuries, not unhealthy people complaining about, all their aches and pains in their body and the inflammation and things that were going on and the poor digestion. And now, having learned functional medicine after that point, and realizing that that was a turning point in my life to become a better version of myself, it's enabled me to help even more people, train other practitioners. We've got a great team of people that we've worked with over the years and worked with over several thousand clients. We were just migrating our patient database, and there was almost 5,000 clients in our book. So we've helped a lot of people and influenced a lot of people. And what I realized is that that impact is actually still very, very small. And a few years ago, I had this revelation that really the doctor of the future is the patient. And we're going to talk about that today. And what I also realized is that if the doctor of the future is a patient, then why not teach people how to take good care of themselves the same way that, I try to take care of myself, that my colleagues try to take care of themselves? Why not teach that to people? And so that they can create health from the comfort of their own home. And so my wife and I, Deepa, she's a pharmacist and also a functional medicine practitioner. She helps coaching and working with people all over the world and helping them optimize their own health from the comfort of their home. And then in the middle there is my son Devin, who's about 9 and almost 10. He's like turning 10 here pretty soon. So he's just an amazing influence for me. So he inspires me again to create a better world for each and every one of you, because that creates a better world for him. So this is a big part of my why as well. I also want to start by sharing my value system, because then everything we talk about today has gone through this value filter, and that helps you understand where it's coming from. Okay. So the first things first, everything I'm going to tell you today is because I love you. So some of it is going to be tough love. Some of it is, going to be love, but it's all going to be love. So don't take anything personal. How you process what I say today is totally how you're dealing with what I say today. Okay. And some of you are going to cry. Some of you are going to laugh. Some of you are going to have really deep insights that you're going to be getting from today's conversation. Honesty, transparency, integrity, excellence, growth, time in nature. It's where I just was. Vulnerability, empathy, consistency, community, freedom, and timeless wisdom, and paying it forward. So those are my values. I have no idea why it showed up like that, but my apologies. So these are my values, and everything I'm going to tell you today is coming through that philosophy and that filter. So now I want to talk about my personal health philosophy, because this is going to help you understand the lens through which I see your health. So my personal health philosophy is that we should be guardians and stewards of our health, and that our health is both the foundation and the ceiling in our life, which means that if your health is a 6 out of 10, then nothing else in your life is a 7 out of 10. So you can't be a 7 out of 10 spouse or mom or dad, sister, brother, daughter, grandmother, grandfather. Whatever role you play in life is capped out at whatever your health is. So if your health is an 8, then it's actually a logarithmic curve. So there's a huge difference between your health being a 6 and your health being an 8, and then your health being a 9 and 9.5 and getting closer towards 10. It's an exponential logarithm, or it's a logarithmic difference. So your potential increases so much greater with each, level that you go up. And so if you're healthy, that's great. I promise you there's another level. If you think clearly and you're happy, I promise you there's another level. So that's my personal philosophy, that we just continuously pursue the best version of ourselves. And one of my mentors, Jim Rohn, said this, how tall does the tree grow? As tall as it can, right? Under whatever circumstances are given to the tree, which is a principle of nature, under whatever circumstances given, it grows. And that's how we should be, because we are essentially one with nature. So I'd love to hear if that aligns with you, if that personal health philosophy aligns with you. Just go ahead and type in yes. And if we have alignment in our values, then I'd love to know that as well, because I want to make sure, again, you're in the right place. Okay. One of the main things I want to tell you is that you must love yourself to life. Many people love themselves to death, but really what I want you to start doing is loving yourself to life. This became our mantra for 2020. So pursuing health, pursuing your greatness, pursuing the best version of you is an act of self-love. Many people will see they love themselves to death. They love their children to death. And they literally do that. Okay. I want you to love yourself to life. If you can promise yourself that and just ask yourself with everything that you do, am I loving myself to life by doing this? And if the answer is yes, then keep going. If the answer is no, then it gives you some pause to think, is this an act of self-love? All right. If you're ready and willing to love yourself to life, I want you to type in love. Go ahead and type in love in the chat box. All right. I love it. I'm going to take a sip of my morning elixir. So excuse me for just one moment. All right. Lots of love coming in. Love you all. Let's keep going. I believe an effective healthcare system is one that liberates you from it. So, not one that depends on you getting sick for it to be functional, but one that actually wants you to be healthy, wants you to be the best version of you, and literally liberates itself from you. Okay, liberates you from it and it from you, because this is, health is important, but it's so important that we should be the ones that are taking care and ownership over it. That's how important your health is that it's your responsibility. It can't be anyone else's responsibility. And I think all of you know that. All right. I also believe there's no system of healthcare that can save you from yourself. So I'm sure many of you align with this philosophy, and it's self-evident, but it's important for us to understand that nothing can save us from ourselves. I also recognize that there's nothing more powerful. The only thing that's really more powerful than marketing is parenting. Our children are so heavily influenced by us and our behaviors, whether we're conscious of it or not. They're not even conscious of it because it's programming their unconscious and subconscious mind. So this is why companies will spend billions upon billions of dollars marketing to children, because at that age, they're extremely influential and we can shape their reality and shape their value system from a very young age. So we as parents have to be stewards of our children's subconscious minds. We have to guard their subconscious minds because it's one of the most important tools that they have, and it's going to determine so many aspects of their life, just like your subconscious mind is determining so many aspects of your life. All right. Nothing can fix your body better than it can fix itself. So this is why this health philosophy, adopting this health philosophy, is important, because it's your body is the thing that's going to is the best thing to, it literally is. And it's so interesting because some of the latest treatments that are coming out are stem cells. And so stem cells are cells that can basically turn into any other part of your body, and they can be removed from certain parts of your body and then spun down and separated. I don't know how they do that stuff, and then injected into you, and it can allow for regeneration of body parts and structures to take place. So it's pretty amazing. But here's the thing, they're taking parts of you and concentrating them and injecting them back into you. That's how far science has come. The technology has come, is to have this revelation that nothing can fix you better than you. And interestingly enough, now stem cell practitioners use functional medicine and use some of the things that we're going to talk about today so that their patients can produce even healthier stem cells. So if you're going to get stem cell therapy, you should have healthy stem cells because you're going to get much better outcomes. And so it's really, even if you're on the most cutting edge of science and technology, it still relies on you being healthy to get better outcomes. All surgeries work better when you're healthy. All medications work more predictably when you're healthy. So there's all these things that come into play when your body is in a position to fix itself. Your cells are the highest form of known intelligence in the entire cosmos, and you really have to let that sink in. It's hard for us to grasp because we've been given this amazing gift. We are the gift. We don't even realize it. But if a single cell from your body was found even on the moon or anywhere else in the universe, it would be one of the greatest discoveries of at least our lifetime, I'm sure. And so if you've got 70 trillion cells performing 1 septillion functions at your command, wouldn't it make sense to know how to take care of these cells and how to guide them and how to get them to do the things that you want them to do? Of course it is. And that's what we're going to teach you today. You are animated earth. There's nothing on you or in you that isn't a product or a concentration of our planet, right? So it's not by coincidence that we have the same amount of water as the earth does. We're just a microcosm of the earth. So when the earth can't breathe, we can't breathe, right? So there's all these metaphors at play and all these lessons at play right now that we're all dealing with. And so you're animated earth, and the health of the planet basically sets the ceiling for what your health can be. So it's important that we take care of our planet. And of course, you're the doctor of the future. I believe that wholeheartedly. And that's the whole premise of what I believe my dharma is, which is the reason I was born. And when I live in my highest truth, it's to teach you how to be the best version of you. Okay. I'm going to switch out my headphones here. All right. Somebody's telling me they're getting a clicking sound. I don't know if it's just me, but I don't hear anything on my end. So if anyone else is getting that, please let me know. If you're having any difficulties, just reset this page, and that usually takes care of it. Okay. And then if you reset the page, make sure you hit play and turn the sound back on. All right. So good health requires these factors. One is a good history. Nobody knows your history better than you do. Next is accountability. You've got to have people that hold you accountable in your life. If it's your spouse or loved one, parents, brother, sister, good friend, whatever it is, then that will be very valuable. Okay. Another one is coaching. We all need coaching. We all need support. We need a good mindset. We need a healthy lifestyle, balanced hormones. Fasting needs to be part of what we do. We need data to make decisions. We need a healthy microbiome, and we need a good reward system. So what I would love for all of you to do is maybe even take a screenshot of this, because this is all the things that you need for good health and, becoming the best version of you. This is what it's going to include. It's going to include all of these things. Okay. If you don't have all these things in alignment or taken into consideration, then you're not going to have the absolute best outcomes that you can have. This is a formula for people who want to win. And you can imagine that some of you might be really good at 2 or 3 or maybe 5 of these things, but it's important to try to be good at all of these things, or at least have awareness in all of these areas. Okay. All right. If you don't own your health, someone else will own your disease. There's 3 things we didn't learn in school, and it's becoming more and more apparent, especially with things going on right now. Unfortunately, we didn't really learn meaningfully how to grow food. And we can all recognize right now how important that skill would be. Just even having confidence that you can grow your own food, or a space to grow your own food, that's valuable. That's important right now. How to really have meaningfully good health. Okay, not just feeling normal. Okay, that's not necessarily the best thing to feel these days, normal, but feeling towards optimal and reaching towards that. It's not a plateau. It's just something we reach constantly towards. So really having great health and finances. You can see that many people are in financial dire straits right now because we haven't been taught those skills. And so it's not anybody's fault. This is how we essentially become enslaved. So we want to really make sure that we can learn these skills. How do we grow our own food, or secure our own food supply in some way, shape, or form that we know is healthy for us, and what's going into it as much as possible. Okay, as much as you can. There's indoor gardens that you can have. There's outdoor gardens that you can have. A variety of different tools that are available to you. Creating really good health. Health is valuable, as you're realizing right now. All of those people that passed away or that are passing away every day, all the money in the world at this point can't save them. Okay, so we've got to make sure we have great health, and we've got to be able to be good stewards of our energy. And essentially, money is stored energy. So who are we giving that energy to? Where does our money flow in our lives? What kind of world does our money create? Okay, so think about the things that we buy, where we allocate resources. All of that stuff matters. Okay, so those are 3 things we didn't learn in school, and these are 3 things that are important to us. an important picture for many of you to recognize is that it's the things that are happening underground that are creating the toxicities and the diseases above ground. So keep that in mind as well. Philosophically, it's, you can paint the leaves green on the tree, but you really want to get to the roots to find out what's going on. And many things that are overlooked are things like, a lack of purpose or a poor self-image, a sedentary lifestyle. We all know that's not good for us. But how about toxic relationships? These things affect our health in more ways than we might actually recognize. So important for you to recognize that underlying factors that oftentimes are not discussed, that are often not measurable on your lab work. It's hard to measure. There's no blood work for your relationship, but it significantly affects you. There's no blood work for past trauma. And we know that a lot of chronic diseases have some trauma associated with them, many of them, if not all to some degree. And so these are things that we also want to look for, because that's what eventually leads to disease and dysfunction. No chronic disease occurs in isolation. Thankfully, neither does healing, okay? Because the same blood goes everywhere. So you're not going to have a situation where you have a liver issue and every other organ in your body is perfectly healthy. Okay, that would be impossible. It may not be as impacted, but it's not going to be optimal. So thankfully, healing takes place just the same way. So if our blood is a healing elixir and it's well oxygenated and rich with nutrients, then guess what? It's going to be rich with nutrients and well oxygenated for every single tissue and cell in our body. Okay, so when you do what's good, it's good for everything, not just good for one thing. Even when you're doing something, it's important for you to think about the fact that that act of self-care, whether it's food or exercise, movement, thinking, whatever it is helping every part of you. Because if you were to think that this supplement or this food is only helping your liver, you're limiting that food's capability of healing the other parts of you. Remember, the placebo effect is powerful. I mean, it's so powerful that when they do like multi-million-dollar studies, they have to have a control group, and the control group is a placebo group. Okay. And oftentimes the placebo is more powerful than the drugs that they're studying with no side effects. Okay. In fact, now there's something called the nocebo effect, where people can actually, interestingly enough, create their own side effects just by recognizing that or becoming aware of it. So the mind is powerful. So don't limit your healing to just one system, just one organ in your body. Heal them all at the same time. Because again, the same blood goes absolutely everywhere. All right. Now, another important thing to realize is your cells don't make any mistakes. They're doing the absolute best with the information that they're given. So just like I wouldn't blame a car for an accident, I don't blame the cells for the disease. What I would be more inclined to look at and investigate is the conditions of the road and the driver themselves. So we, through our central nervous system, through our mind, essentially our conscious and unconscious mind, send the signals to all of our cells for them to carry out their function. If we're sending a message of stress, then the cells are carrying out functions associated with stress. If we're sending out a message of healing and repair, then the cells are carrying out a function of healing and repair. So your cells don't make mistakes. And this is important, because if you blame your cells, you blame your body, you're blaming the very thing that is trying to heal you. The only thing working for you in the entire universe, everything else is working against you, right? Sometimes your environment, all these things are working against you, external factors, but what's working from inside of you is your cells. So don't make them the enemy. Take responsibility. You don't blame the car for the car accident, right? It would be crazy if you saw a car wrapped around a pole that you would say, wow, what a stupid car. No, you would probably look at the road conditions first, just to see if there's ice or anything like that. And then the next thing you would look at is the driver. So we've got to put ourselves in the driver's seat and really take ownership. And here's the thing. You could have a really nice new car and still be a bad driver and make mistakes. Or you could have a really clunky car, for example. Let's just say you did want to blame your cells, but if you drove it carefully and handled it well and took good care of it, then it could last a long time, couldn't it? So our cells don't make mistakes. I want you guys to recognize that. So you might be asking, well, why do people stay sick? this is a good screenshot to take if it shows up for you big enough. Is if you look at these slides, what's interesting about them is that you can see that there's turnover. So our small intestinal epithelium replaces itself every 2 to 4 days. Every 2 to 4 days, that lining replaces itself. Your stomach cells replace themselves every 2 to 9 days. So every week you've got a brand new stomach. Okay, platelets in your body every 10 days. Your pancreas beta cells. This is in rats, and anywhere from 20 to 50 days. So these cells are constantly regenerating. And so the reason we don't get healthy as fast as our body is kind of rebuilding itself is because we may not be changing the signal to the cell. We may not be changing the signal to the cell. Okay, so if we buy you a new car, that doesn't make you a better driver, right? You've got to learn how to take responsibility over that. All right. So one thing I want you to recognize is the difference between competition versus cooperation. We're conditioned to think that nature is competitive. What I believe is that nature is cooperative. And so it's important for us to be cooperative and have a cooperative mindset and learn from each other. So I always try to learn from my peers and by cooperating instead of competing against them. All right. Now, another important thing to recognize is that math is everything and everything is math. So we are built with an architecture in our bodies, and the entire universe and everything in nature is built on an architecture basically that uses this branching mathematical formula called fractal mathematics. So when we go to the biggest things in the universe, which is that picture on the bottom right, to some of the smallest things in the universe, like these brain cells that we see at the top left, they have this repetitive pattern that repeats itself at every single scale. So from the smallest things to the biggest things, this is how our body is built. So if we look at structures inside of your body, like the brain cells, like your lungs, like your arteries, like your nerves, they use this same type of branching mathematical architecture for and we can see it. We can visually see it. So as above, so below. So these patterns repeat themselves at every scale. So this is how you're built on the inside. Even if you look at your hand branches into 5 fingers, doesn't it? If you look at your epithelium lining in your intestinal tract, there's villi and then there's microvilli. So this pattern of, the Russian doll pattern, essentially, when you think about it, kind of keeps repeating itself at every scale. So this is the architecture under which you're built. And it's important to recognize this because, whole food has this mathematical, formula built into it. This is why food works so much better than supplementation, because it has all of the data and information that's stored in this type of mathematical structure. So it's pretty powerful. I don't want to spend too much time here, but I just want you to recognize that you're basically similar. The way you're built is similar to how everything around you is built in nature. All right. Food is hardware for your body and software for your body. So when we think about food, in terms of vitamins and minerals and things like that, that's like the hardware that builds your computer. So it's the hard components. The software is the informatics, the information that the food provides to your body. So just like a computer requires hardware, like the CPU, the monitor, the keyboard, and all the chips and everything inside, the software is what operates it. Now, Steve Jobs is famous for saying that, Apple never competed based on hardware. They always competed, well, maybe not even competed, but they focused on the software, because you could have the same hardware, but if the software code is written better and more efficiently, then guess what? You're able to actually have way better outcomes with the exact same hardware. Okay, so no matter what your hardware is, the software is where the upgrade actually comes from. And not only in our minds, but in our food. Our food is more than, the vitamins and minerals. There's a code that's written into it that doesn't show up on the food label. So food is much more powerful than you're led to believe. All right. Now, how you're feeling is a representation of how you're healing. So when you're anxious, when you're stressed out, guess what? You're creating a chemistry of stress and frustration and increased stress hormones in your body, which tells your body to start breaking down instead of building up. So how you feel is how you heal. Time like this, it's important to laugh, to get on a call with people that you love, spend some time, being socially distanced appropriately if you need to be, and essentially, being outside as much as you can as well. Okay, especially throughout the day. How you feel is going to represent how you heal. So if you're not feeling good or not feeling positive, then let's do something about that. And there's some powerful things we'll talk about. The future of healthcare is, really community driven self care, important to understand. Now let's get into something called Feng Shui. I'd love to know if anyone has Feng Shuied their home or office or personal space. If you have, just go ahead and type in yes. If you haven't, then go ahead and type in no. And I'll just give you all just a moment to type that in while I drink my elixir. All right. So I see a few yeses. I see a few nos. Okay. A few not yets, some somewhats. Okay. So this is a really great slide, and it's called a Bagua map. A Bagua map essentially represents the different spaces in a room or an office, a building. The bottom is the wall that contains the main entrance. So imagine entering a room or a home from the bottom, and then each of these squares represents different aspects of that space. So we've had our offices feng shuied, we've had our home feng shuied, we've had, in fact, when we bought the home that we live in now, it almost appeared as if the home was perfectly feng shuied, like every area was exactly where it needed to be. And it was like so easy for us to say yes because everything was pretty much laid out perfectly according to this map. So the rooms in the house and the colors that we use and all of these things can be coordinated based on a Bagua map. And if you want to spell that out, it's Bagua, Bagua. And what you essentially do is you look at these different spaces in your home. And one of the great visuals of this is if you take this map and you go into different areas of your home, like let's say wealth and prosperity and self worth, which is actually where my office is. And my kitchen or dining room is right above this. So I usually work in these two spaces because it's better for wealth and prosperity and self worth. So it worked out perfectly when the dining room was above and my office was right below. My bedroom is where the marriage and relationships and partnerships is. So it was like perfect when we walked into the house, we could see that. Our living room is right in the middle. So it's good fortune and it's the good fortune center, earth. So we use the earthy colors and tones in that space. Devin's room and our mantra room and prayer room is like perfectly located. So we knew right away when we walked into our space. And now when I walk into that room, I'm going to try to apply certain things. Like the element is wood. So I've got a solid wood table. Upstairs, we've got a solid wood table. You can see the colors to use: purple, green, and gold. So you can see the background around me is kind of goldish in color. And wood as well. So these are things that you can do to be, a little bit more strategic with how you view that space and how you ignite that area of your life. I recommend Sid. She is fantastic. She's somebody that's I had her flown out to Toronto to feng shui our office and our apartment at the time, and she'll fly anywhere because she loves this. And if you need her contact information, let me know. Sid Alper Sedgwick, she's amazing, and she does this for us. In certain countries, they won't even build a building without having this aspect of it evaluated, and so something important to note. Okay, would you guys like these slides? Would it be helpful if I share these slides with you? I had a lady, um, could never get her money together. And it turned out her wealth area, there was an unfinished bathroom. So they started a project and never quite finished it. And so there was stagnation in that space, and it was in her wealth and prosperity area. So that was one of the first projects we had her work on, was actually was addressing that part of her home and getting that project and renovation completed, because it was just creating so much stagnation in that area. Okay, I'll be happy to share the slides with you guys. Next thing is grounding. So, the Feng Shui is one of the principles of Feng Shui is to declutter your space. So go through your home, get rid of stuff, re-energize it by giving it away to somebody else. Somebody else might benefit from it, because give your things new life. When you have things that you're not using in your home, it's just dead energy. So get rid of stuff. Okay. Another thing I want you to do is grounding. So this morning I got up, went outside, put my feet. We have a big project going on in front of our house right now. So our grass is it's just dirt right now. We don't have our sod put in. And so, I went and put my feet in the dirt and stood outside and spent a few minutes just grounding myself. I actually also have a grounding sheet that I put on my bed, because that helps me with literally keeping myself grounded. And so it's a throw that I lay on my bed, and it plugs into the grounding outlet in your home. And this creates a energy balance in your home. Without getting too scientific and nerding out on this, it balances the energy in your body, it balances the electrons in your body. All right, another big aspect of your health is going to be your relationship capital. Tap into your networks, tap into the people that you know, because oftentimes one of the things I've learned is, this has been studied, is the more you teach other people what you know, the more likely you are to do it, and the better you learn it and retain information. So you can build up a lot of relationship capital with people by sharing what you're learning, and then also learning from your networks as well. This is another way to to get healthy. Don't look at just one person for all your health advice. Your friends are learning, and they can be sharing information with you, and you can be sharing information with them. Tap into that. Another thing that I want you to start doing and focusing on a little bit more is, if you haven't done this exercise, is your love language. So Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages. And these love languages are basically a way for you to understand how to fill somebody else's love bucket and what fills your love bucket. So my love bucket is words of affirmation and physical touch. And guess what? We really didn't get much of that growing up. So our parents were not like, that huggy kissy type of family. And they were not, they never really praised my brother and I for anything really, because they wanted to, that's how they would motivate us, is by not saying anything. They didn't want to jinx us, we later came to find out. So that's why they would never say anything. So those are our love languages. Oftentimes our love languages are the things that we may not have received when we were children. The other love languages are gifts. So not my wife's. My wife's are quality time and acts of service. So for me, I can't buy her things. I can't sing her praises, because those aren't things that fill her love bucket. So instead, I have to make sure I try to keep my space clean up after myself, do the dishes once in a while, and do some of the more domestic chores around the house, and keeping things tidy and spending quality time with her. Those are the things that fill up her love bucket. And thankfully for me, they don't really cost me anything. It's just an act of love and service, and I've come to learn to love to do those things, because it's how I'm expressing my love to my wife. And so knowing these love languages can be so powerful for you, because you can then better and more effectively communicate with the people around you. My son, he loves getting gifts, but his love language mainly is quality time. So he loves quality time with me, and that's why he loves me putting him to bed, because we have undistracted basically time with one another, and we're able to really even that act is so powerful for him, because that's his love language. So knowing that about people around you can be so powerful, because love is the greatest healing tool possible. Okay, imagine somebody whose love language is words of affirmation, or being told positive things about them, but they never get that. right? That bucket never gets filled. How will that person ever get healthy if they never feel loved? And it's really the inner child that needs to feel loved. And many of us actually lack that. And we may not tap into that with our partners, so we don't know how to love them as they want to be loved. So I hope that makes sense. But this is a powerful tool. Okay. All right. Now, one thing that is probably one of the most powerful tools in getting you healthy is something called autonomic pairing. So, autonomic pairing is where you pair your nervous system with the task that you're trying to accomplish. So, if I'm going for a run, where should I be sending blood? If I'm going for a run, I'm using my arms and legs. Where should I be sending blood? Go ahead and type that in. Um, and I think I answered it, so I hope somebody picks that up. But you're essentially sending blood where you need it to your arms and legs. Now, imagine if you were running in fight or flight or not, right? It's the same chemistry. Imagine that. And now your digestive system is trying to get blood to it. So you're fighting for blood because maybe you just ate and now you're going for a run and your body's, there's a mismatch. There's no pairing taking place. Imagine you're trying to digest your food, but you're eating under stress or eating on the go. You're not sending adequate blood to your arms and you're not sending adequate blood to your gut and digestive system. So, of course, your digestion is not going to be that great. So, when we're in fight or flight, when we're in stress, there's a signal that goes from basically our reptilian brain down through our spinal cord and to every organ and tells those organs to basically shut off. So, our digestive organs shut off, our liver, our kidney, we significantly decrease blood flow to these organs. For example, when you're at rest in a relaxed state, you're sending 50% of your blood to your liver and kidneys. So you can imagine how important detoxification is. That's one of the many functions those organs do. But you can imagine how important their function is if we send half our blood there at rest when we're healing and repairing. And when we're in fight or flight, we're only sending about 5% of our blood there. And so this is why it's important for us to really get into a understanding of where we send flows, where we send function. So people come to us and they want better detox, they want better digestion, they want, they don't want to have heartburn anymore, they want better gallbladder function, they want better reproductive health. Well, guess what? In order for you to be able to do that, you have to send blood to those organs. And if every waking hour you're basically shunting blood away because you're in fight or flight all the time, or in fight or flight more than you should be, then there's going to be an imbalance in how much blood you send to these organs. And so, unfortunately, what that's going to lead to is you're not accomplishing your health goals. Now, if you go and buy the most expensive supplements for your digestion, or the most expensive probiotics, or the most expensive or best whatever, detoxification shake or program, but you're in fight or flight all the time, you're not going to get the results that you could have probably gotten just by shifting the state of your nervous system. So it's important for us to recognize that. Now, what are the things that people are freaking out about right now? They're freaking about the three things they didn't learn anything about in school. They're freaking out about food, right? They're freaking out about health, and they're freaking out about money. I mean, those are the primal concerns that we all have. If those three problems are solved for us, what other challenges do we really have? Except, of course, like personal and relationship stuff. But other than that, our essential needs are met. So if we have fear in that part of our brain because we haven't learned survival skills in those areas, then we're just constantly being triggered. And so this triggering leads to poor health. And there's no pills that you can take that's going to fix that. We've got to do the work to shift the state of our nervous system and be guardians of our nervous system when we recognize how impacted we are by being in fight or flight. Now, the opposite of this is the parasympathetic division. So all of the healing that you're looking for, everything that you want in terms of your health lives on this side of the fence. And so you can't be in a state of fight or flight and healing your digestive organs or healing your liver, healing your kidneys. This is one of the reasons people retain a lot of fluids. People who are under a lot of stress during the day, they'll retain a lot of fluids in their legs. And then they'll have to wake up in the middle of the night when their body is and their kidneys working again, flushing out all this liquid out of their body. And they'll have to wake up in the middle of the night, even though they didn't drink a lot of water. It's because they were retaining all this water that entire time because the liver and kidneys weren't doing their job. The gut wasn't doing its job to eliminate and get rid of these things. And so, important for us to realize that all of our goals, everything you're after, lives on the premise that you're going to be as parasympathetic as possible throughout the day. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Now, I want to check in. We're about 50 minutes in. How are you guys finding this information? I would love your feedback. I would love your input. Are you finding it interesting? Am I going too slow? Am I going too fast? Is it too basic for you? Is it too advanced for you? I'd love your input. Okay, great. So good so far. Awesome. Amazing. Let's keep going. All right. Now, subconscious programming is extremely vital to your health. Subconscious programming essentially is deterministic in how you process information. Our subconscious mind is programmed based on our experiences, values, and beliefs. And oftentimes, really, the majority of it is programmed between the age of 0 and 8. So the things that we heard and saw between the age of 0 and 8 are deterministic in our worldview. So if your parents talked about money a certain way, that's going to be your belief system and value system around money. If your dad talked about women a certain way or your mom talked about men a certain way, that's oftentimes going to be your worldview. Now, as an adult, you might be able to recognize how you can, as an adult, you can recognize, your thoughts at a conscious level. But as a child, between the age of 0 and 5, the two sides of your brain really haven't properly connected yet. So we can have information come in, but not make any logical sense of it, until we get a little bit older. So as an adult, you can reason through it, but as a child, while your subconscious mind and worldview is being programmed, there's really no filter. And this is what can oftentimes lead to bad decision making or fear around things that may seem irrational when you think through them. It's because of our subconscious programming. Our subconscious mind is what gets triggered and is deterministic in whether we're going to feel stressed out about something even before the conscious mind gets the information. So the information really comes into the midbrain and the brainstem, and then it goes out to the prefrontal cortex. But our body's already created a response of stress because we'd want that response to take place before we can overthink it. Because if a lion's chasing me, I don't want to think about it. I want my body to get into a state where it can protect itself and run away from the lion. Or if it's somebody I need to, fend from, then I'm sending blood in the right areas in order for me to do that. Where you send flow is where you send function. Where you send flow is where you send function. So remember that. So if you're going to see a practitioner or you're working on yourself as your best doctor, ask yourself, where am I sending blood flow right now? And what are my expectations? If you're watering the front yard, do you expect the backyard to grow if you don't send the same amount of water to it? So where you send flow is where you send function. If you want to heal your trunk organs, then you've got to be in a state where you're sending blood to those organs and healing appropriately. That's what I know you want. I know you want that because that's what everyone wants. Everyone wants to feel good and feel healthy and have good function in these organs. Everyone wants that, don't they? So where you send flow is where you send function. So let's use digestion as an example. So there's these 3 C's that we talk about when we discuss digestion with everyone we talk to. So the first one is you have to choose the right foods. You've got to choose foods that are going to make you feel good, food that your future self would be proud of you eating, okay? And food that is going to nourish your body and fuel your goals. So you've got to choose that food and how you feel about it. Sometimes people will choose the right food and feel negative towards it. So they'll be like, man, I can't believe I got to eat this healthy salad. It's the first time in human history where people complain about eating healthy. Hopefully that changes after all this, but choose what you're going to eat and choose how you feel about it. The next thing is you have to chew that food. Most people do not chew their food adequately. I'm certainly guilty of this, not so much anymore, but I can certainly think back to when I was unconscious about this, that I would just inhale my food. Because eating fast, when I was young, I used to eat really slow, and I would get in trouble because I was actually ridiculously slow. I would just keep food in my mouth and I wouldn't swallow it. It's so strange for me to think that, because that's so not me right now as an adult. But I used to always get in trouble for being the last person at the table, and it would drive my parents just like absolutely nuts now that I think about it. And so, I did not chew my food. I just kept it in my mouth. So I've had issues with this going back to childhood. And because they would want me to eat faster and faster and faster, I became a really fast eater. So I wouldn't chew my food. So again, childhood experiences that we have can affect how we behave as adults. And then chewing is something that we can be conscious about. It's a manual act that we have full conscious control over, and one of the few things that we have control over when it comes to digestion. The next one is chill. You've got to be in a chilled out state, sending blood to the digestive organs. If you're not sending blood to the digestive organs, then you're in trouble, right? So you can't be eating while you're walking around, while you're stressed out, while you're on your computer. Now, if you're on your computer, then maybe you should be watching some stand-up comedy or something to give you a good laugh, something that lightens the mood. But don't be checking your email and stuff like that. Be entertained. Don't be distracted. The next one is cherish. So you've got to cherish your food and feel good about it, especially now when you realize all the steps that are involved in getting food to your plate. It's a combination of billions of dollars of infrastructure, and maybe hundreds or thousands of people involved in the entire process of getting that food over to you, probably tens of thousands now that I think about it. So be grateful for every meal that you have. And then the check. So check is two things. One, you want to check your stool every day. Should be going 1 to 3 times a day, having a bowel movement, and just take a quick glance to see if you see anything funny, anything unusual. Blood is obviously not ever normal. So if there's ever blood in your stool, you always want to get that checked out. But just give your stool a visual. And then once a year, we recommend getting functional lab testing of your stool, because then you're able to see what's going on below the surface. You'd be shocked at how many people have parasites and pathogens and things like that. You don't have to get checked many times. You can do programs and protocols that really kind of reset your gut. In fact, Dr. Brar on our team has a total gut transformation program that, over 6 months, you're able to completely like reset your whole digestive system and recalibrate all these systems in your body. So you can do it without testing, but you should at least every single day take a visual. Okay. Now there's a Bristol stool chart that I wanted to share with you. And you can see that there's 7 different types of compositions that your stool could be. We want to have as close as possible to a type 4. Okay. That's the sausage or snake like, smooth and soft. Never You never know what you're going to talk about when you wake up in the morning, but we're talking about this right now. And you want it to be at least 12 inches every day. Okay. That's the standard goal that you should be shooting for when it comes to your poop. And so visual inspection every day is going to help you keep track of how you're responding to food. If there's something that's upsetting the system, then you can become more conscious of it sooner rather than later. All right. Now, when it comes to going to the bathroom, how you sit, how you position your pelvis actually makes a big difference. So we suggest and use a squatty potty. And of course, when you use a squatty potty, there's different heights. So you can get different heights that are appropriate for you, appropriate for your home. I think it comes in a 7-inch and a 9-inch, or you can even start by putting 2 paint cans underneath your feet if you don't want to make that small investment. But positioning your pelvis in the right way is going to be powerful, because it's going to allow you to have better elimination, and you're not going to fight your anatomy. The majority of the planet goes to the bathroom in a squatting position. So when you go to other countries, what we would call undeveloped countries, they for the majority of the time don't have toilets. They actually have basically a place where you squat, and the toilet's like kind of built into the ground as opposed to being something you sit on, because anatomically that's actually the most correct position to go in. Okay, so they kind of now in the West, or in the East, I'm sorry, they're adopting these type of things. So now you'll go to people's homes and they'll have toilets. But for the majority of human history, people have been going in a squatting position. So this is a way to adapt your seat so that you can have better positioning of your pelvis, better bowel movements, less likelihood of developing hemorrhoids and things like SIBO and other challenges. You don't have to strain to go to the bathroom anymore. Another thing is, whenever you're doing anything, that you start with your heart. You should put your heart into everything that you do, because essentially, the when you love what you do, it makes a huge difference in the work that you actually create. So if you love what you do, you're going to create a much better outcome. Okay. Uh, if you don't love your job, if you don't love, the where you spend 50 to 60 hours committed to every week, it's going to be hard to be healthy. So some of the best results we've ever received or achieved with clients is when they follow their heart. They maybe quit their job or quit a situation or relationship that's not serving them anymore, and then they have dramatic transformations in their health. So where can you start, um, and where can that have an impact for you? Okay. So, what are you doing that your heart's not in anymore? And this is a good time for us to ask some of these tough questions. And you might be wondering, what does this have to do with your health? Well, heart disease and heart attacks are still the number one cause of death. So, figuratively and literally, when we don't follow our heart, we're already dead. So, I want you to really ask yourself some tough questions and evaluate that part of your life, because I promise you, health is easier when your heart's in everything that you do. Okay. If I didn't love what I was doing right now, I would be dreading it all night and all morning, and I wouldn't be able to put my heart into it right now. So when you love what you do, you look forward to it, you anticipate it, your chemistry in your body completely changes. If I was dreading this and had negative feelings towards it and didn't want to do it, then guess what? The entire time, my physiology is completely in the gutter. I'm in a sympathetic, dominant, negative state. I don't want to be there. And so, where are you stuck in that trap? Because that's going to impede you from getting healthy. So if you want to doctor yourself, okay, guys, if your goal is to doctor yourself, you have to know this stuff, because this is the stuff that gets overlooked. Not just running a bunch of labs and taking a bunch of pills. This is the stuff that there's no supplements for. This is where a lot of people's cases actually fail. And if you're a clinician, this is where a lot of your cases are going to fail, even though you're getting their blood work, spot on. Another big part of being healthy is speaking your truth. A lot of people have unresolved trauma. A lot of people have unresolved things that need to be said that they're not saying. And so now is a good time to send those text messages or have those conversations or send those emails that you need to speak up for yourself. It's no surprise that millions and millions of people, especially women, have thyroid disease because they don't get to express themselves fully. Okay. So speak your truth, speak up for yourself. And that doesn't mean that you hurt people's feelings, but you speak your truth so that you're able to live your truth. And very important for your chemistry, your physiology. If you don't let it out of you, then that emotion, that energy, that negativity stays inside your body. It doesn't go anywhere. In fact, the only place it exists is in your mind and in your body. And then there's physiological, physical, and emotional consequences of that. All right. Another big thing when it comes to having great health is your communication styles. So we use something called a DISC score. And I'm not going to get too into that. I actually do some training on this in the course that we offer. And what you're going to get is basically the ability to test yourself to know your communication style. There's essentially 4, according to this test, communication styles. And this tells us a little bit more about how to more effectively get a message across to somebody. So I'm a D, and Ds tend to be direct. My wife is an S, and S personalities or communication styles like to have more detail, and they like to articulate themselves a little bit differently. So when her and I communicate, my communication is very direct, and she likes more details. So until we knew this about each other, we would butt heads, and then it would be, we each of us would take it personal because we were not understanding that our communication styles were different. So when I tell my wife something, now she knows, instead of saying no, it's better to challenge me. It's better to say, well, how about we do this first, and then you can have that. Instead of saying no, it's better for her to, communicate to me in that way, because when she says no, when you say no to a D, they actually become more bullish on what you want them to do. And it creates the opposite effect. When I'm telling my wife a story, I don't just go to the bottom line and tell her, hey, here's what I'm going to do. I give her the details that she needs so that she can process the information, just like I did in my mind before I came to the conclusion that whatever I'm asking her for is a good idea. So giving her 3 to 4 bullet points can help us in shortening that communication cycle and being more effective with each other. Poor communication is one of the biggest contributors to bad health. Either not expressing ourselves, as I said earlier, but then when we are expressing ourselves, are we articulating our message in a way that reduces friction in our relationships? Because guess what? When you have bad or poor communication, you might exchange words for a few minutes, but then the ripple effect of that could be days or weeks or months. It could be an entire lifetime, because you didn't understand the rules of communication. So this is something that, there's a whole training on this that we do. It could be an hour long. There's books that have been written about this, but know your communication style and explore this. Imagine your communication style, your spouse's communication style, your children's communication style, their love languages, right? Imagine the difference that has in your chemistry in your body and the physiology in your body. And again, this is not something that there's no blood work for this. There's no stool test for this, right? There's no genetic test for this. You have to actually, do the test. They take like 10 minutes, but the information is relevant for an entire lifetime, so know this about yourself, know this about others, and you're going to find that communication, as you improve communication, you're going to have way better health outcomes. Okay. Has anyone done that test? I just love a yes or a no if you've done any communication testing, or even personality testing on yourself and your family members. All right. So some yeses, some nos. We actually put communication style testing on all of our intake forms with our clients, because we want to know their communication style so that we can actually better know them, better communicate with them. Because if what we have to offer them is valuable to them, but I can't articulate myself very well because I haven't developed this skill set, oops, then guess what? That's going to be a problem, isn't it? Especially if I have something of value to offer this person. All right, let's keep going. Now, next thing is EMF exposure. So some people may be sensitive to EMF, more sensitive than other people. I think that depending on how tapped in we are to our body or how healthy we are, there might be other things that we have more awareness around. Like if you're in pain, it might be hard to know if you're EMF sensitive, right? But if you've got great health and vitality and you're just kind of wired a certain way, I don't know if there's a genetic reason for this or what. Maybe there's a spiritual reason, but some people tend to be more sensitive to EMF. So they can tell when there's a cell tower around the corner. They can tell when the Wi-Fi is on. They can tell when somebody's phone is about to ring. Like they're really sensitive to these things. So what I suggest is limiting your exposure. For example, the computer I'm using right now is hardwired right into the router, as opposed to using the Wi-Fi. And then, I try to keep my phone physically away from my body unless I absolutely need to. And I put it in airplane mode as much as I can. So there's ways that you can limit your exposure. Another thing you can do to limit your exposure is put a timer on your Wi-Fi. So ideally, if you could hardwire your environment, that would be perfect. Mine isn't fully hardwired just yet, but as soon as everything lets up, we're going to have somebody come into our house and hardwire it for us, so that we have that and we can fully go Wi-Fi free. But one thing we do is we will unplug it at night and we will put our phones and everything on airplane mode so that we're limiting our exposure as much as we can. That's all you can do. I mean, it's impossible to get away from it completely. You can buy shields for your Wi-Fi routers, there's specific routers that you can buy that are don't have as much dirty EMF in them, and limit your exposure. Okay. All right. Now, surrounding every cell in your body is three things: is a nerve that gets information from your brain and nervous system. There is a artery or small capillary blood vessel, and this blood vessel carries nutrient rich blood, and then there's a lymphatic vessel, and the lymphatic vessel carries away the waste products that are produced by our cells. So we've got to be able to send the right signal to our cells. We've got to be able to send nutrients to our cells and eliminate the waste products that our cells produce. And they produce about 12 liters of waste every single day. So our lymphatic system is, this sewage system in our body. And so ways to promote healthy lymphatic drainage is going to be dry brushing. Another way is movement and walking, just getting outside. Yoga is a great way to start moving lymph around. Stretching is a great way to move some lymph around. So try to get this sludge moving out of your body. Okay. And again, 12 liters every day. You only have about 5 liters of blood. You have 12 liters every day that you make of lymph fluid. And that's where a lot of diseases actually start. All right. Now, another thing to do is you want to try to, as much as you can, mitigate screen time. And mitigate doesn't mean cut it off. Like, how can we mitigate screen time? One way we can make it a little bit easier on us is by wearing blue blocker glasses. So, for example, the glasses I wear now, these ones here, have a filter that filters out, some of the blue spectrum of light. Now, that isn't the be all and end all. But in the evening, when the sun goes down, I wear my blue blockers that have a red lens on them. So that keeps even more of that, blue light out of my eyes. Your phones can actually have built-in digital filters that filter out some of that blue light. Your computer monitors have software that allows that to happen as well. So as much as you can, eliminate screen time, but you can also use it responsibly and use things like filters on your glasses or special glasses that help you address that. And if you can, try to avoid watching the screen after the sun goes down. I'll admit this is something that I definitely am not perfect about, but I will at least wear my glasses because I do like watching movies, and it's hard to watch a movie in the middle of the day. So I watch them in the evening, but I'm usually in bed by 10 o'clock. So I don't watch them late into the evening, but the sun is down usually about an hour at that point. All right. Now, the next thing is for great health and to doctor yourself, really, is to act your truth, not just speak your truth, but to act your truth. So your behaviors should align with, what's in your heart, and your behavior should align with what your highest calling is. I believe that when you tap into that part of your life, into that kind of role in your life, that what intersects with you when you're living your truth and acting your truth is an abundance of energy and opportunity and great health and happiness. But if you're not living those things out, then you're not going to encounter your best life. So again, being your own best doctor isn't about just taking supplements, right? It's not just about running labs on yourself. Even if you could do those things, that's not where it ends. That's where it really starts. That's the basis of it. That just means you have all the right parts. It doesn't mean that you're going to be an amazing driver and drive these beautiful scenic routes, right? That's an act of, conscious, that's a conscious act that you have to actually do to live your best life. So you've got to not just speak your truth, follow your heart, but you've got to act your truth. And you've got to ask yourself that, is what I'm doing right now acting my truth? And is it an act of self-love? And am I following my heart? Because if you can do more of that, I promise you, you'll be healthier. All right. Your words matter more than we might even realize. Okay. Words matter so much more than we might realize. They are extremely powerful. And if you study ancient wisdom, you'll find that most texts will describe that first there was a word, which is a primordial sound or vibration. Now, words, as we know them now, are essentially vibrations we're just vibrating air. We're vibrating our vocal cords, which vibrates air, vibrates our eardrums, creates an electrical impulse, and then there's meaning associated with it. So there are sounds that without sound, without vibration, nothing exists. Everything is essentially a vibration. Our words are a representation of our thoughts. Now, the English language is very interesting because the English language is a language that has a lot of ambiguity to it. When a language is ambiguous, then it essentially becomes very sloppy and it can be weaponized against the end user. Interesting to say that because, if I use the wrong words, I could mistake a weapon for a tool. If I use the wrong words, I might be calling into existence the opposite of what I'm trying to call into existence. So this is a study of sound and how sound affects the physical world is called cymatics. So I've got this short video here that I'm going to share with you. And in this video, what we do is we show you a vibrationary plate and how that plate is essentially changing the configuration of the sand. So let me play this for you here. So what you're seeing is a black metal plate. Underneath that plate is a speaker, and then there is a frequency generator hooked up to the speaker. So the frequency generator is now basically changing frequencies that it's creating. And what you're seeing is the shapes will change and conform, the sand will conform itself into, highly sophisticated and predictable shapes. But each shape compared to the next shape is almost unpredictable. So it's hard to know what the next shape is going to be because they're radically different. So what you learn from this, or what I hope you gain as you're watching this, is that as we increase, I'm going to lower the volume here, it gets pretty high pitched, and you can see the shapes get more and more fancy, they get more and more sophisticated. They have to add more sand because there's more matter, right? There's more sand that's being reorganized and reshaped. And you can see that these shapes, as we increase frequency, we increase complexity. So let me say that again. As we increase frequency, we increase complexity. As we increase complexity, we ask ourselves, okay, what is the most complex structure that we're aware of in the entire universe? And I would argue and say it's the human mind. So if the human mind is the most complex structure, then from this experiment, we can conclude that it's likely vibrating at the highest frequency, because everything has a resonant frequency. Everything is vibrating. We can't always hear it. Okay. The human ear can only hear between 20 and 20,000 hertz. So we actually have a very limited range. If you could hear everything, you would hear nothing. If you could see everything, you would see nothing. You would be blinded by sound and blinded by, deafened by the sound, and you'd be deafened by or blinded by the light. So it's good that we can't see and hear everything. We only see and hear things in a certain range. So the human mind, the most sophisticated thing that the human mind creates is a thought. So your thought is actually vibrating at the highest frequency. And if we know that frequency can organize matter, just like frequency can organize the structure of the sand here, it can organize your entire life. So your thoughts literally become things. And here's the mathematical proof for it. But what I hope you noticed as the shapes were changing is that in between one shape versus the next shape, there was more sand required. Because the shape got more and more complex. So there was more sand that was required. The sand is you. Okay, your thoughts are essentially the frequency, the vibration that's being created. You're the sand. So if you want to become the highest vibrating, most sophisticated version of yourself, it's going to take more of you to do that. It's going to take more health for you to do that. It's going to take you going from a 6 to a 7 to an 8 to a 9 to a 10. So the more of you there is, the more sophisticated and the more positive, higher vibrating thoughts you create, you can create a very, very amazing life for yourself just by tapping into this. And I say just because you're really one thought away. Your mind is like a paintbrush and your life is a canvas. You can paint whatever picture you want on that canvas. You can paint the most amazing life for yourself. It takes the same amount of paint in order for you to do that. To fill that canvas, it takes the same amount of paint, no matter what you paint it with. So why not create and paint a beautiful picture? Okay. So vibration organizes matter. Our thoughts, our heart creates vibration. And we can measure this, right? We have instruments now to measure our thoughts. When the brain thinks a thought, there's electrical impulses that take place. And it propagates. So there's a field that's created around us. Vibration organizes matter. Now, the reason most people never accomplish what they set out to do is because they're so distracted, right? If I just keep changing the frequency on that machine I showed you, if I just keep changing the frequency, is the sand ever going to look organized? If I just rip through them, constantly changing it? No, it's never, you're never holding that thought long enough for that matter to organize itself the way you want to. I hope this makes sense. Okay, I hope this makes sense to you, because when you can start understanding this concept, then everything in your life changes. So, I don't know what you thought you were going to get today. I don't know if you thought you were going to learn about diet and nutrition and all that stuff, but this is a master class, right? The other stuff, you can get that anywhere. This is a master class of how to think, how to function, how to be the absolute highest version of yourself. And that's what it means to be the doctor of the future. Okay. Now, semantic sabotage. Semantic sabotage is where we use the wrong words, even though our intention behind the word is positive. The actual word itself may mean the opposite. So, for example, we might use the words like, I have a friend, she's amazing. Or you might, that's the right way to say it. The wrong way to say it is, you've got to meet my friend, she's incredible. Or you've got to go see my doctor, he's incredible. You've got to go see my massage therapist, he or she is unbelievable. You're actually saying the exact opposite of what you're trying to say. So what's the opposite of incredible? It's actually credible. What's the opposite of unbelievable? It's believable. You have to recognize the English language for what it is. It's a very poorly semantically created language. Semantics basically is the meaning of a word, and the vibration and the meaning of the word. So, for example, the word "buy" in the English language has 3 different spellings, 3 different meanings, but it's the exact same word. Okay, and this is where the English language can be very, very confusing, and why it's difficult to teach somebody English. People can speak so many other languages more easily than English because of its semantic incongruencies. And so you want to pay attention to the words that you're using, because you're going to call those words into existence. Just like the vibrational plate, when it's vibrating at a certain frequency, the way it organizes the sand is predictable every single time. Regardless of how you feel about it emotionally, the vibration is what creates the organization. Another thing to do when you have when you're trying to be as healthy as possible is talk things out. Don't keep things bottled in. We talked about this. Even talking it out with, even if it's not the person that you need to say it to, but speaking it up and actually speaking it into existence gets it out of your body. And so this could be a powerful way for you to release some things that are pent up. Just saying them out loud. Stop saying things in your head. Say them out loud. Even if you say it to a tree, get it out of your body, because we want to get rid of that energy as much as we can. And it could be kind of a cathartic feeling to get it out of your body and just put it out there in the world. And eventually you can say what needs to be said to the person that needs to be told. Now, another thing that we talk about that I think is a very powerful tool, reward tool for your body, is something called limbic anchoring. So this is many of us struggle with this, and I realize this when I coach people. Is people struggle with keeping their goals and staying anchored to a plan and finishing and seeing it through without sabotaging themselves. Very difficult. So type in yes if you've ever started a project and just kind of never finished it. Okay, so I should see a lot of yeses coming in. I know I do. There's projects that I don't have finished as well, but it's very rare for me to have something not completed, to not see it through. So limbic anchoring is basically a way for us to reward ourselves over and over and over again. So, for example, if somebody, I'll give you just kind of a crude example, but let's say somebody meets their dietary needs and keeps gluten-free for a week, and then on Friday they sabotage themselves with a gluten pizza, okay, with a regular pizza, and so the reason that person is rewarding themselves that way is because they're not rewarding themselves in a different way. So they feel a deep sense of reward, chemical reward and emotional reward. And that's how they're rewarding themselves, by self-sabotaging. Instead, if you were to actually, let's say for me, for example, I like art. So when I accomplish a goal, I will buy some original piece of art or a little crystal or something that I'm going to see and use every single day, so that now my environment is surrounded by me accomplishing certain goals and objectives that I have. So this anchors that goal into our limbic system. It anchors it into our subconscious brain, and we're constantly surrounded by all these little wins that we have, and we're feeling a sense of fulfillment and reward. For some of you, it might be making a donation. For some of you, it might be volunteering somewhere or helping somebody or buying a new outfit for yourself. Whatever it is, something that's anchored and reminds you in your environment of your success. I prefer things that you're going to use frequently versus buying a new shirt for yourself that you hardly ever wear. Something in your environment. Another way to anchor your limbic mind and really your reptilian brain into your life is through scent. So one thing that I tell people to do when they travel, this is a really good tip, because we always feel awesome when we travel, especially when we travel with our friends and have a great time. You can anchor that vacation or those moments in your life through two things very well. One is through smell. So if you have a specific like essential oil that you really love or incense that you really love, then every time you smell that incense, or even it could even be perfume, something natural is preferential. You're always going to immediately think of that event or that vacation, and you can flood your brain with the emotions that were associated with that experience as well. You can also do it with sound. So when you travel, pick a song and play that song over and over and over again, your favorite song of the time, and or whatever song you want to anchor into that vacation. And then every time you play that song, you're going to essentially be able to, flood your emotions and flood your body with the emotions associated with that positive experience that you've had. So you can take that vacation with you wherever you want. So when you travel, have a specific scent, or when you travel, have a specific song, or when you're having an amazing time of your life, a type of journey or experience, then that's a way for you to do that. So you can, at any given moment, flood your body with good feelings. Okay. I'd love to hear what your favorite song is. Like if you had to pick a favorite song or even a favorite scent, what would that be when you go on your next vacation or whatever the case might be? Go ahead and type that in. I'd love to hear that. Okay. Now I'm going to talk next about the 3 things that help you heal faster than anything else. And that is sleep, fasting, and silence. Okay. So children are our greatest teachers. When my son doesn't feel well, which is thankfully very rare, but when he doesn't, the first thing he does is he stops talking. So his body kind of like he's very outspoken. So the body first stops talking, right? The next thing that he does is he stops eating, and the next thing he does is he goes to bed. And so the body innately knows exactly what to do, right? Stop talking, get silent, stop eating, and get some rest. As adults, what do? When we don't feel well, we run around telling everyone how horrible we feel, right? We then try to, we eat, right? We try to comfort ourselves with food, or people that love us try to comfort us with food. And the third thing we do is we stay up, right? Or we push through. We might drink some more coffee, or we take something to numb the pain and push through the night because we have deadlines to meet, instead of listening to our body and taking some rest. So there's no shame in any of those things, because those are the things that are going to help you heal the fastest. I promise you, if you do those things, you're going to heal so much faster than eliminating or ignoring those 3 things. All right. So intentional stillness is important. Just sitting still, right? It could be in a nice environment, but I think all of us need to put ourselves in neutral at some point during the day, and intentionally. So laying in bed is not, it's good, but it's not intentional unless you're making it intentional. You might be doing some prayer, or you might be doing some, saying a prayer, or singing a song, or humming or chanting, whatever it is that you might be doing. It could be intentional, but just being in silence, not talking, just being with your thoughts and watching them, observing them, not attaching any emotion to them. doing that for, a few minutes every day can be extremely powerful. And it feels long. Okay. So 3 minutes can feel really long when you're in complete silence and just sitting with your thoughts. Be intentional about this and do this as often as you can. Okay. So no screens, no book, no music, nothing, just complete silence. All right. Next thing, when you're becoming your own best doctor, is tapping into your intuition. Many of us are tuned in to our intuition, but we actually don't act on our intuition, and it slows down. So here's what happens: when we can get dialed into our intuition, we can make decisions very, very quickly. We can be snappy at making decisions that, might take other people, days, years, or even, months or years to make. But when you're dialed in, then, and you act on it, you can make decisions very fast. Whatever dream life you have is a number of decisions away. It's not an amount of time away, it's a number of decisions away. So if you could make decisions very quickly, you can start collapsing timelines. Most people don't realize this. They think it's going to take them 5 years to accomplish a goal. So we kind of underestimate what we can do in 5 years. And because they think it's going to take that long, it ends up taking that long or sometimes longer. But if you can get fast at making decisions, fast at saying yes, and just as fast as at saying no, because you're dialed in and you're speaking your truth, you're living your truth, and you're acting in your heart, then guess what? You can collapse the timeline of success, because, like I said, success is a certain number of decisions away from where you are right now. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Very powerful tool there. Next one is circadian rhythm. Dialing into your circadian rhythm is very important. So ways that you can do that. If you want to improve your sleep, I'll just give you some really high level tips here. If you want to improve your sleep, one of the best ways that you can do that is by using the sun as your natural clock. Okay. Now, that's not to say that you can ignore the human construct of a clock that we've created, because you have appointments and stuff like that. Like, we all had to be here at a certain time today. I had to be here at a certain time. But think about this: everything else in nature, every plant, every animal, every little bug, every microbe that exists is basing its day on the sun. It's basing its rhythm with the sun's natural rhythm. So the best thing that you can do is do just that. If you can wake up with the sunrise, that would be amazing. And you gaze at the sun with your eyes open or closed. And then if you can get out during the midday for 5 to 10 minutes, you don't have to do it. You don't have to exercise. You could just sit there, enjoy the sunlight, even if it's not bright outside. Just get outside. There's ample light that's coming, even on a cloudy day, to signal to your brain what time of day it is. And then at sunset, then you can actually ideally what you'd want to do is you'd want to watch the sun set. Sunrise, midday, sunset. If you can do that and then limit your exposure or eliminate your exposure to artificial light, use candle lights, or better, or not a better, but the next thing you could do above from that would be to change the bulbs in your home to be much warmer colored temperatures, like 2700 Kelvin or less. And then the next thing you could do is put shades. So no overhead lighting, only lamps with shades in the evening. Candlelight is ideal if you can, because that's going to, as you see here, increase your melatonin levels. Melatonin is what is considered one of your most important immune system modulating hormones. So it's not just for good sleep, it's for great immune health as well. And it taps into the deep physical, repair that our body needs on a nightly basis. And so that rhythm is based on our exposure to light. Nowadays, we're exposed to so much more artificial light. We have less melatonin, more cortisol. And so that affects our body's immune system and our capabilities of healing, repairing, regenerating, all the things that you're, trying to fix in your body or paying other people to help you fix. The average human being used to sleep 10 hours before we invented the light bulb. Now the average human being sleeps less than 7 hours, actually. And so those 3 hours aren't filled with meditation and drum circles and, hot yoga and things like that. It's filled with more stress, right? More artificial light, more email, more deadlines, those type of things. So if you can at least split the difference and, spend at least the last hour and a half of your day, in a state of relaxation and repair, and just live that last hour and a half intentionally. Don't just like randomly go to bed. Have a 90-minute routine of perhaps drinking your favorite tea, reading your favorite book, listening to your favorite music, unwinding, journaling, whatever it is, have some wind down. And that's really going to help you have a deep, meaningful sleep. And you're going to feel rested in the morning when you wake up. When you don't sleep well, all your other hormones, everything gets thrown off. Now, most people will use certain modalities of wellness as fire extinguishers. So let me give you an example. A fire extinguisher would be if you're using yoga to help you deal with stress, if you're using meditation to help you deal with stress. So that's like, it's good that you can do that, but you're still using meditation as a fire extinguisher. What you need to do is one of a few things. You need to quit the thing that's stressing you out. You need to speak the truth that you're keeping bottled up. You need to follow your heart so that you're not pumping out all this cortisol in your body all day. You need to, address the subconscious pattern, the belief system, the value system, the experience that you had that's creating that cortisol and stress response in your body. Those are the things that you need to do. So, yes, you can take herbs and adaptogens and all that stuff, but why not get it at the root? Why not go to the subconscious mind? Because that's what's controlling your physiology. Your conscious mind is responding to your physiology oftentimes. Of course, it can create it as well, but a lot of times it's responding if we haven't dealt with these fires and haven't put them out. So speak your truth, follow your heart, say what needs to be said to who it needs to be said to, and then get the subconscious mind aspect of this figured out. If there's been trauma and you're aware of it, then that's actually a bonus, so you can act on it. Some people don't even realize they've had trauma because they've buried it so deep and in the unconscious, but it still influences their decisions and influences the chemistry in their body. So put those fires out, guys, because there's only so much yoga and meditation and all that stuff that you can do day in and day out. Eventually the house is going to be burnt to ashes. Okay. All right. Now, another big thing is your connection with source. And, now I think people are probably praying now more than they ever have. I don't know. I know certainly I'm chanting more and, expressing my love for God more than ever before. And, maybe you are too, but there's something we have to connect with. So whether you believe that you were created by a higher force, a higher vibration, then certainly, that's what I believe, but that's not what you have to believe. Then connect with that source every single day, as often as you can. Lead with that source. Don't just connect with it, lead with it, lead with that energy, lead with that love. And then the other thing that, whether you don't believe in God and you believe that you're a byproduct of, nature, then connect with nature. So I do both. I connect with my higher vibrational source and I connect with nature. So I've got both my bases covered, so to speak. So what is that for you? And are you doing that on a daily basis? And are you doing it with unconditional faith? Are you doing it with this deep understanding that there is this higher intelligence and source that you came from? And connecting with it daily, I think, is very valuable. Next thing, and we'll wrap things up and we'll do a Q&A, is to really pay it forward. How are you in your life paying it forward? What are you doing to pay it forward? We all have great fortune, I believe. We all have an amazing, if you're on this, you're on the computer right now, yes, life might be challenging and difficult right now. I think it is for all of us who choose for it to be. I see lots of opportunity to be of service, to help people, to be of value to people. Right now, the littlest things make the biggest difference. So there's never going to be a greater ROI on relationships and being able to help and serve people. Yes, people might have financial hardships, emotional hardships, relationship hardships. I totally understand that. But this is our time to do that work. And, so if you're struggling right now, then I hope that you found something today that can help you. And then it puts you in a position to pay it forward. So I think all of us, I hope, are in some sort of position to pay it forward. You can pay this presentation forward by sharing what you learned with somebody. You can pay it forward to me by applying it and using it in some way, shape, or form. You can pay it forward to me by leaving a review if you enjoyed today's conversation and you had a big takeaway that you want to share, and I'll share a link to where you can do that. So there's lots of ways that you can pay it forward, and we should always be paying it forward, never paying it back. Remember, the language that we use every day matters. When you pay it back, you're implying that you took it from somebody or you took something from somebody that didn't belong to you. But when you pay it forward, you're doing just that. It's flowing through you. So where does energy and resource and all those beautiful things in life flow through you? So here's how one of the ways it flows through me is, at the Living Proof Institute for the last 5 years, we've been working on a bunch of different projects, and we adopted a village in Uganda. And in Uganda, this was all dirt over here. Basically, what you see, jungle and stuff back there, that's what it was. And what we recently did over the last few years is built a hospital that now serves 5 villages. We just bought an ambulance for them just recently because they could now serve a bigger area. And they've now offer services to 5 villages in the surrounding area where they provide free healthcare and they provide free medicines when appropriate. They also provide education to the surrounding community. So this is an education and teaching clinic versus just providing unnecessary services for people. The way we set this up is so that people can really take amazing care of themselves, and also educationally driven so that people can stay healthy. In villages like this, that's where it really matters. And it's amazing to see this hospital go up. And then we just recently built an orphanage. And then the most recent project that we have going on right now, it's almost done, is we just built them a school. So it's from contributions from people like yourself that help make this possible, contributions from people that I mentor and coach, and mastermind programs that we run, and of course, from things that we do in our community. And that's one of the things that we're going to ask you, should you feel compelled to today. The donation button that you see is a donation to this particular charity. And I'll share that in the comments for people as well. So it's a way for us to continue to, pay it forward, to be of value to people, and to serve people from all over the world. And we really love paying it forward. So here's some of the pictures that you see, the projects that we work on. So they actually literally build each brick on site. So they buy all this material and then they plaster it. So this is how it looks like when it's all being built. This was one of the buildings that they just put a new roof on. And you can see it's all coming together quite nicely. So some people might ask, how can you help? If you're interested in becoming involved in a project like this, then we've got something that I think is valuable that you're going to get a ton of value out of. If you like today's presentation, then what I've done is I've recorded many of the topics that were discussed in more detail, and I've created a course called the Doctor of the Future. So this course is geared towards helping you become your own best doctor, giving you deeper dives into some of the things we talked about today so that you can start applying them and implementing them into your life. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you what that course looks like, and then I'll share with you how you can get access to it if that's something that you're interested in. And while I'm doing that, while I'm pulling that up, I'd also like to take questions. So this will be a great time for us to do some Q&A. So whatever questions you have, I would love to I would love for you to post that in the chat so that I can answer those questions. But let me walk you through what that Doctor of the Future course actually looks like, because I think you're gonna be pretty impressed when you see it. All right. So we created this course with you amazing people in mind. What I realized a few years ago is that I have lots of content that I can share, and people love hearing the information and the way it's explained and how easy it is for them to understand. So a few years ago, I started compiling this information into a course. And in fact, we started creating modules, and we're continuing to add modules to the course for you guys to start exploring and digging into. And we decided to make this a course available to anyone who would make a donation to our hospital. So instead of charging you for it, we allow you to make a donation, whatever size is appropriate for you, and you get these amazing courses. So in the first module, which is Mindset Mastery, we basically walk you through short trainings, and these are the 8 trainings that we have in this category. So you can see it's really simple, really easy for you to learn, and we get some amazing feedback on this course. So people really love it. They love the value, they love the content, they love the applicability of it, and it's our way of raising money and paying it forward and allowing you to contribute to a greater cause, and then in exchange we give you this valuable information. if you had to sit down with me to get this information, it probably cost you several $1,000s, and we packaged it up into this course for you to be able to utilize. So let me share this link with some of you, and then hopefully some of you feel compelled to join the course. I think you'll love it. I think you'll get a lot of value out of it, and your contribution will go to a great cause. Okay. So I posted that in the chat, and then I'm going to go back to my screen here. And what I'd love to do is take any questions that some of you have. I hope you found this information to be valuable. I hope you found this information to be applicable to you. And I hope you found this information to be something that you will take forward with you for a long time. I know that, I love this information because of the amazing value that it's provided me in my life. And I love the fact that I can share this with you and everyone can tune in. We've got, almost 300 people that are tuned in right now, which is pretty cool. So I would love your questions. So let me go to the Q&A and see what came in. Okay, so one question that's coming in is, what are other ways to get to the root cause of self-sabotage when a person already made many changes and struggle with the final stages? So if you're that's a really good question. So this comes up very often with people. So the best analogy that I can give you is, okay. So the best analogy that I can give you is thinking about your computer. So if I make a mistake on my computer, there's two ways to get rid of that mistake. One is to use whiteout. So I can literally use whiteout on my computer screen. Or the other way is to actually use my keyboard. So when you're using your conscious mind and you're talking through something and you're trying to logically process what's going on, that's like using whiteout on your computer screen. When you work on the unconscious mind, that's like using your keyboard to change the emotion or to change the negative thought or the self-sabotaging thought around it. So that's important for you to recognize is that, are you going deep enough? Are you addressing it at the keyboard level or at the screen level? Because as soon as I move my computer screen, then the problem is still there. So as soon as you take that next step in life or encounter the next challenge in life, it's still there because you haven't dealt with it. So hypnotherapy can be a powerful way. There's also, soundtracks. Marissa Peer is somebody who does, that type of, you could buy recordings from her. She's a hypnotherapist from the UK. So you can buy her recordings and she can actually, you can listen to them in the morning and in the evening, and that can rewire at the appropriate time of day, your brain and your subconscious thoughts. Another way is plant medicines. So for some people, if they want to go really deep, then exploring plant medicines might be an opportunity for them to kind of come face to face with that self-sabotaging fear or lesson that they need to learn. And we've seen in clients remarkable turnarounds with plant medicine. So we don't provide those services, but just something for you to think about. Okay, so what other questions? Let's see. Burlington Girl says, thank you, Dr. Patel. Amazing information as always. This is wonderful. Thank you for what you're doing in the world. Awesome. I appreciate that. All right. Another question that's coming in is, how do you stop feeling guilty about current health and wealth? So guilty because you have too much, or guilty because I'm not understanding the question. Why would you feel guilty about having health and wealth? Please enlighten me a little bit. I'm going to pull up a link here while you're doing that. I'd love for you guys to leave a review. If you found this valuable, I'd love for you to leave us a review so that you could pay it forward that way to me. If you'd be so kind, I'll just post a link in the chat for you to do that. I would greatly appreciate that from all of you. All right. So Myra, if you could just let me know why you feel guilty, that would be helpful for me. Okay, so EJ Bell is asking, who's the hypnotherapist? One hypnotherapist that we have a lot of our clients work with is Jillian. And so Jillian is I'm just going to type in something here in the chat. Jillian is a hypnotherapist, and I can definitely connect you with her if you'd like to. She can work with clients remotely. I'd have to just check her schedule. I should have checked with her earlier today before name dropping her, because I just want to make sure she's got room in her schedule to do that. But Jillian Joy Wyatt is who we recommend. But you can find somebody, if you want to work with somebody locally, then you can search somebody locally. It's always great to get a referral from somebody. And then the hypnotherapist that I mentioned, if that's what you're asking, was Marissa Peer. Okay, so I shared a link where you guys can leave a review. Okay, so I heard you use Cellcore Biosciences. How do you implement this into your routine? So one of the things that I'm actually doing starting May with Dr. Brar is I'm going through the entire Cellcore program. So I've used Cellcore Biosciences for the last 3 years. The last time I went to Costa Rica, my whole family picked up parasites. My wife and I didn't know it, but my son had developed this weird burping, and it was unusual because we thought he was just, boys are boys, right? So we thought he was being a boy, and then it just became really weird. So then we started actually doing a parasite cleanse, and all of us release parasites from that. So sometimes you may not have any symptoms, but you still may have challenges. And so that's when the Cellcore, the Pudica, changed my life, because I was like, wow, like I would have never known, I would have never done anything. And here are some amazing products. Patients get great results with it. So we actually now are implementing a group program with Cellcore. So we've partnered with them to deliver a program specifically for Dr. Brar and his clients as a group. So it makes it so much more affordable, where we use the products over the different phases of the program, and people are getting amazing results all over the world because their products are used by other practitioners. So we're teaming up with them to put it into a special program where it's the education and the knowledge and all that other stuff comes along with it, not just the products. Okay, so someone's asking if this information is new to me. What books can I use to leverage to start and learn and apply to heal my constipation, chronic lack of sleep challenges? Okay, so let's get rid of your constipation in 5 minutes. So a couple things that you want to do. I know other people might be struggling with this. So constipation, in the morning, I want you to scrape your tongue. So go to Amazon and get a tongue scraper. A tongue scraper stimulates your digestive organs. So imagine like massaging your tongue. That's kind of like massaging your digestive system and stimulating it and turning it on. You also want to gag yourself a couple of times in the morning and gargle water, singing the alphabet 2 times. If you do that, you're going to activate the nerves that create the vagus nerve, which creates the motility and squeezing of the bowel. The rhythmic motion of the bowel is going to be centered around that. If you've had head trauma, then that could be affected. So I'm assuming that you haven't, but just do those things in the morning. That's going to help. A rebounder can help, just physically kind of getting things moving. Reducing your stress is going to be very helpful. Sometimes coffee can be good as a diuretic to get the bowels moving. You can also use Smooth Move tea, which has senna in it, and then castor oil is also really powerful. So you can apply castor oil topically on your abdomen, particularly on your right side where your liver and gallbladder are. In some cultures, they'll actually drink castor oil. That will definitely get things moving. Another thing to get you moving is magnesium citrate. So 200 milligrams of magnesium citrate in the evening. There's a great product called Calm. It's a magnesium citrate, and that will get you moving. Have that warm in the evening, and that usually does the trick. Or in a dire straits scenario, if you need to really go, then vitamin C to bowel tolerance. So you can take 500 milligrams of vitamin C until you have a bowel movement, and that will kind of keep things flowing and keep things moving. So those are some things you can do. Aloe vera juice is another thing. If you haven't done those, then I would start there. There's a lot of things that you can do to keep things moving for yourself. Okay. How can someone focus and blend their passions if there are multiple? Yeah, so it's a great question coming in from Dan. Thanks, Dan. I think a big thing is to get creative. So there's a new world that's being created right now. I think all of us are feeling that to a certain degree. So the things that were not possible before will become possible now. I think a lot of industries and people and economies are going to reinvent themselves. People are going to start to hopefully use more local businesses versus using big corporations, and they're gonna want more human connection. I think that's one of the things that's going to come out of this is people are going to want more human connection with people. So figure out how you can solve the needs of a marketplace. And I guess your focus and passions don't necessarily have to equate to a business or an income, but I would say get creative and see how you can put those things together. Get together with other people who have some of those same interests, and surround yourself with those people and see how they're blending things in. And you might not have a best practice just yet, so experiment, have fun. I know you have a beginner's mind, which is beautiful. So just let's and once one thing settle down, we'll definitely get together. I think we can get the creative juices flowing. But yeah, surrounding yourself with like-minded people and people have similar interests, I think that would be quite powerful. Okay. So somebody's asking, with the Doctor of the Future course, are there job opportunities available if you finish the course? I think, well, if you take the course, I think you're going to love it. So there's going to be abundance of opportunities that are available to you. Not necessarily with me. I can't promise you that, because then I'd have to promise that to everybody. But if you've gone through the course and there's an opportunity with us, it certainly is something that's important to put on your resume if you're going through our materials and enjoying it. Okay. Will you be extending that group program as a program to sell to us? So right now it's a donation-based program. That's how we offer it at the moment. So you can, if you make a contribution and a donation, then you'll have access to it for life. So you get lifetime access to it. Okay, so somebody's asking about their eczema on their hands. So this one of the things that I would say is start with all the things we talked about today. Okay, I know that you're probably looking for, like, eczema is oftentimes related to the gut. So it's a loaded question because I don't have a history on you and I don't know what's going on with you, but I would definitely start applying a lot of the things that we talked about today. I think you'll find that very beneficial. All right. Sophie says, thank you for today. Lots of great reminders of things we theoretically know but forget, and really pay attention to language and communication, getting issues out of the body. Great as always. Thank you, Sophie. I appreciate that. Okay. Losing weight is a problem. And why and how can I help my client put on about 10 pounds? Okay. So going both ways now. I would say the best way to put on weight is to clean up digestion, improve efficiency in the digestive organs, because we want to make sure they're absorbing a lot of their food and then get parasympathetic. So when we're in a catabolic, stressed out, fight or flight state, then you're not going to grow. So one of the biggest contributors to muscle growth and hypertrophy is sleep, because that's when you release your growth hormones, and that's when your cortisol goes down. And also you're not going to get all the spikes that you normally would with cortisol, which is catabolic when you're less stressed out. So try to get that person to de-stress. And then also for the person who's having a hard time losing weight, it's actually the same answer. So depending on how they carry their weight, you might find that if it's around the midsection, then it's oftentimes stress related. If it's around the hips and pelvic area, it's probably estrogen dominance. If it's everywhere, global weight gain is usually thyroid. And if it's just kind of in the front of the belly, then that's usually liver congestion. So doing things that will help balance those hormones out in the body can be beneficial. We actually do a whole presentation on that, so I can definitely keep you posted on that. All right, how do I overcome low energy? So low energy is, sometimes it can be mood. So we have to differentiate whether it's chemical in nature or emotional in nature. And a lot of times it could be environmental in nature. So, the Feng Shui is a great place to start. You can only heal in a healing environment. And so we want to make sure that we create a healing environment around us. And just so you guys know, like, each of these topics that I covered today could be an hour-long conversation. So I know I'm just kind of skimming the surface with things. And in the course, we do go deeper into a lot of these things, and we're always adding materials. So based on our interest level of specific topics, we always add new content. And so energy, we want to determine, okay, what is it? So start by decluttering your space. Start by feng shuiing your space. Sometimes that means adding new life to that room, adding new energy to that room, getting rid of the old energy out of that room or out of your house or out of your space, right? What are the things that are no longer serving you energetically? So think at that level, at an environmental level. And then you want to think at a spiritual level, right? Am I following my dharma? Like, usually I find that when we do things we love, we are automatically energized. Our spirit becomes energized, and we find the energy to do the things that we love. When we're doing things that we don't care for so much, then we end up feeling kind of emotionally drained and spiritually drained. So differentiate between that as well. The next thing that you want to do is, what is the biochemistry? Do you have deficiencies? Are you not, are you not absorbing or consuming enough iron in your diet? Are your thyroid markers off? So of course there's a biochemical aspect of it as well that you want to evaluate. And then, a big one is digestion. So we talked about that just very lightly, but how much nutrition are you absorbing from the food? How efficient is that system? Are you eating foods that are creating inflammation in your body, because that drains your body of energy? Are you getting enough rest? Are you following the sun's rhythms and getting deep sleep? Are you tracking your sleep? So I wear a ring that tracks my sleep at night so I can see how well rested I am. Today, my readiness was 94 out of 100. So, that gives me great pride, but also it gives me insights into how hard I can push myself today, and based on how well rested I am. So these are things that are important for you guys to pay attention to. So there's lots when it comes to energy. Energy is the number one reason people see the doctor, aside from the common cold. So it's a big problem. It's a big challenge. And really what helps, I know I threw a lot of things at you, but I don't have a history, but it could be all of those things. It could be one of those things. It could be multiples of those things. All right. What can I do to mitigate mold, toxic mycotoxins, and endotoxins because you're quarantined? Actually, this is interesting because I had a conversation with Jared just about this, that this is more relevant now than ever before. If people have mold in their homes, then it's going to be an issue, and it causes ice pick pains in her head, neuropathies, rashes, cognitive problems. I feel better outside, but can't stay outside to sleep, cook. I can't adequately explain with words how challenging this has been. Eating on the balcony, takeout all the time in the cold is hard. Wow, that's I'm sorry to hear that. I think that if you're renting, then you certainly want to let your landlord know. Make sure that there's something that can be done to address that. If it's your own home, then I know it's not cheap always to fix these things, but it might be a good idea for you to do that. I can't imagine you living the rest of your life like this. Another thing you do is get an air purifier. We use specifically, we use the air doctor, but I would definitely get an air purifier in the home. And then if you've identified where the mold is, but there's still water damage that's taking place, then maybe get that leak fixed. And this is really something that probably requires a professional opinion to come in and evaluate and assess, because it's definitely negatively affecting you. The other thing that you would want to do is Dr. Brar has his group program that he's doing, and mold is one of the things that they address, is clearing it out of your body. So if you can't change the exposure, we have to make sure that we're supporting your body, with the right elements that it needs to help your body mitigate this. And sometimes, supplements are necessary, or protocol is necessary, because it's putting undue stress on your system, right? And so clearing these things out through nutritional support can be beneficial for you too. Okay, I joined a little late, but loved everything I've heard so far. Is there a way to listen to the first part of this talk? Yeah, we'll be sending a replay. Normally what we do is we put these type of masterclass replays in the course, but I'll share that with all of you so you have it. Another question is, do I do consults? So I actually don't consult clients at the moment. My wife does. Thank you for asking. My wife does, and I kind of oversee the consultations that she does. Dr. Ricky does consultations. Dr. Jared does consultations. And what I do now is I actually coach healthcare providers on how to implement a lot of what we talked about today into their practices, and promote this type of new medicine, so to speak, by teaching them how to create doctors in their own community using this. So I don't see patients anymore. My apologies, but if there's anything I can do to help you, then please let me know. I can always point you in the right direction. Will you have access to the Doctor of the Future for life? Yes. What is a good donation price? Whatever you feel called to. So whatever you feel called to is fine with us. We're just offering this as a way of exchanging energy, because we know there's a lot of value in that course, and we want people to donate and then actually use the course, because that's where you get a multiple of the value. And we're always looking to create new projects and help people, with the projects that we do. All right. Please leave us a review. I would love that. That would be so great of you. Can't wait to do the Doctor of Future program. Awesome. Thank you, guest 5022. Mary Kay, amazing. Very glad I tuned in. Many blessings to you in your amazing work. I'm interested in taking the course. All right, awesome. Thank you, guest 5754. What do you suggest for someone who has chronic EBV and chronic Lyme? Diet is excellent. Sleep is good. Self-care is good supplements, but fatigue is unbearable every second of the day. So not to deflect again, but Dr. Brar's course, actually, you have to clear things out from the very beginning. And the fatigue is oftentimes associated with poor mitochondrial function. So if your mitochondria aren't functioning optimally, then you're not going to have energy. And that's where a lot of supplementation or programs might fail, because the mitochondriopathy that's taken place. And that's where he starts in his program. And again, you work with him over a 6-month period. So there's tons and tons of value in that, because you're able to, he's able to walk you through that. And one of the last things that they do is they get to Lyme. So you've got to clear out all these other things before you're going to fix that. So kind of think of it like this, his program, for example, takes it down to the studs. So what I mean by that is that, it's one thing to paint over the wall, but if the drywall is all moldy and moist and wet, and you're just kind of painting over it, then it's going to look good for a while or feel good for a while, but then the problem is still there. Sometimes you have to go all the way down to the studs, rip out all the drywall, take out all the nails, fix the damage where it's taking place, and then build yourself back up. So, this is going to be very, very a good visual for you to see, and it could explain why your energy is not where you want it to be. Okay, I get random hives. Okay, somebody's asking what's the regular price of the course. So typically the price of the course is $97 if you were to just buy it outright. But this course itself is donation, so you can donate whatever you want. Okay, so somebody gets random hives, type 2 diabetic, and doesn't take insulin. I watch diet, 80 years old, exercise every day for 30 minutes. Amazing. So a big contributor to blood sugar imbalances, just in case you're wondering, is stress. So cortisol's main function in our body is to raise blood sugar. And so if you're raising cortisol in the body, you're raising blood sugar. So one of the most effective things to do is to lower stress, believe it or not, in addition to the dietary changes that you're making. Hives are oftentimes associated to you're saying it doesn't seem to relate to the food. You might want to go on a mono diet. So you can do an elimination diet, but then you may have to go on a mono food diet where you're eating just one particular ingredient at a time to really figure that out. Or you can even do some potential food sensitivity testing, but that's not going to actually tell you what the underlying cause is. So food sensitivity testing is oftentimes associated to somebody's gut permeability issues, which really need to be fixed by fixing what's going on inside the gut. So either getting stool testing done, or the elimination diet, fasting, mono food diets, those type of things can really help you get to the bottom of it. I know it's hard to answer some of these questions clinically without having a history, but that's where you could probably start. Okay, so somebody is saying that I just wanted to share that I had a schedule conflict for today. The other event is with my very toxic, abusive work group. I cried for hours last night at the thought of missing this and being with them. I have them on mute on my laptop and listening to you, Sachin, on my tablet. Thank you so much for your positive alternative. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so somebody said, okay, so the person, the diabetic, said they were celiac. I would, if you're celiac, I would experiment with cutting out all grains. So even my mentor Peter Osborne, he wrote the book called No Grain, No Pain, and it's associated with autoimmune conditions. And so one of the things that he talks about is eliminating all grains. So if you need recipes, then you can go get paleo recipes and see if that's the case. Okay. All right. So somebody says you are You are just answering my questions about energy. I'm so impressed with you and your answer. Thank you. You rock, man. I am a hoarder and I went to declutter. Right on, Dr. Patel. Okay, yes, declutter, all of us, declutter. That's the easiest thing we can do, even if it's just one thing. You know, it doesn't have to be like a whole dedicated 5 hours, but just one room a day or, one thing a day will add up eventually. Okay. So I'm going to answer one more question. And so I'm going to try it. It's hard to pick the best one. I don't want to say I'm going to pick the best one, but I'm going to see the one that rings true to me the most. All right. This was great today. Amazing. Thank you for giving. Very helpful. Thank you. Do I follow Ayurvedic science specific to your dosha or this journey of improving and maintaining health? So, interesting story. And then I'll wrap it up with this. Thank you, everyone. Very interesting story. So, when I went to India this past year, so last January, I went to India for 3 weeks. And it was about almost like, I think it was, yeah, about 30 years since I had last gone, 29 years since I had last gone. So things had changed dramatically. And here I was thinking that I was going to go to India and teach them about functional medicine and how amazing functional medicine is. And when I went there, what I realized is that they've got something way better than functional medicine, which is Ayurvedic medicine. And Ayurvedic medicine is the original personalized medicine, and it's been around for thousands and thousands of years. And it basically takes personal individuality into account. And it's a systems biology approach to health. So instead of looking at things in a compartmentalized way, we're looking at the whole person. We're looking at the entire systems and how everything engages and interacts with one another. So I love Ayurvedic medicine. I'm a Pitta myself, so I do base some of my decisions based on my dosha. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically there's three constitutions that we all have. We're all made up of all three of these in some way, shape, or form. So you have a Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So Vata is like air, Pitta is like fire, and Kapha is like earth. So it's basically different constitutions, and we're a combination of all three of these. And based on which one is your dominant one or which one needs to be more balanced, you can make certain dietary choices, lifestyle choices that help you express that more beautifully. So yes, I definitely love Ayurvedic medicine, and it's an area that I'm very fascinated in learning more about. Okay. So people want the slides. I'm happy to share the PDF of the slides. Okay. Amazing, everyone. I love you all. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you for being with me during this conversation. And thank you for those of you that contributed and donated. I'm really grateful for you. And yeah, if you can leave us a review on our Facebook review page, that would be greatly appreciated if you're looking to pay it forward in some way. But enjoy the rest of your amazing day. Bye for now.